loud. And now we're just going to start recording right now.
Okay, I was gonna remind you when the meeting actually got going. I can
put a pause.
Items tonight.
I'm going to go ahead and start.
Come up, so we'll try to get that done tonight.
Yeah, and
all right.
We've heard from Jeff Hagan that he won't be here tonight. His daughter gave birth today, so they are with the first granddaughter, or grandchild. So that's a wonderful thing. So Jeff was going to be preoccupied.
All right. Well, once again, thanks everybody for being here. We have an agenda. Does everybody have that? I'm trying to pick it up on my phone and I'm not finding it. So if anybody has that in front of them,
it's on the website.
Alan, can you pop it up for on the screen?
Sure.
Okay. I just gave you permission to share.
I saw it. Google, no, that's the Google Doc. No. Hold on a minute. Lost my marbles.
Good thing I'm not doing it. We'd be here all night.
No, I didn't have the document on the screen. That's all. Load it back up. Here. No. Oh, there you go.
There it is.
So the number one item, discuss whether to revise committee purpose statement to include long-term and interim goals. Let's talk about it. I'm definitely in support of that because I think we have a shorter time goal than what's going to take years to do.
This is not quite what I'm talking about, though.
All right.
A little different. But go ahead and talk about it. I will be off camera here for a minute.
Okay. I really think that I would really like to do it that way, to have like the interim and the long term, because I don't want to get the urgent need out of, I don't think that's been completely resolved yet. And I think that it's really important. So I am all over that. I'm totally in favor of it.
Other comments? Anybody else?
Well, this is Tim. I think that's pretty much what we came down to at the end of the meeting, that we're looking at two different tracks: a long-term thing of getting the dock, and the short-term of, if we can figure out how to do it, is get a temporary on the reef net boat that you talked about, and let's see if we can figure out a ramp or how to do something. And it can include more than that, because I did. Well, we can get into this a little bit later, but I did do a little email thing with Rama and about steps or stairs and a ramp going down to the beach as well, which seems like a no-brainer on a whole bunch of different levels, and got a kind of interesting response from her. So I think it makes sense then to go the two different tracks. We have short-term, long-term. Let's keep, and I thought that's where we were at the end of the last meeting.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that seems reasonable to me, but I do think that they're a little bit separable in the sense of trying to work with the county to file an application. And I wanted to talk to you about some of the funding information I found out. I'm kind of excited about that. So at the appropriate time, there's money out there is all I'm saying. I don't know if you guys read the Google document, but
I did.
Found some good information. And so I think our focus will eventually morph into a full frontal attack on how to put this application together to secure that money and make the dock happen. But this is, I mean, this is, I agree that, you know, part of this committee can certainly be focused on the short-term organization of the float, the boat or whatever platform, whatever we want to do.
Nick, any comments?
Looks like Nick is muted.
It's true. Well, if he figures it out and wants to make a comment, I guess he will, or he can message us, I suspect.
Oh, here I am. Sorry, everybody. I'm in the middle of a project here. Yeah, I agree. I think if we declare a goal of ours as to meet the needs of a short-term or more urgent need of a dock, I think that's important for us to clarify.
Okay.
I would like to share the section that I was talking about.
Okay.
Covers some of this. Okay. So on the community web page for this committee, there's a section that I'm currently calling reason. It's basically why we exist. And these points here are the ones that I put down, and I need opinion on them. And I think they cover some of what you're talking about. So could everybody take a look at that? Is it big enough to read? I can make it bigger.
It's good.
So this is why we as a committee exist. In my mind.
Can you go down to number 2 a little bit farther? I don't know that I see it all.
No, that's something else.
Oh, that's something else. Okay.
Yeah, just number 1.
I love it. I'm not seeing anything else there that I would want to add.
Right. I mean, as I read it, and I read this, you know, before, it says enough to say what we're doing and why, and we can always add or modify that as we go along. But I like what it says.
Yeah, I just need something to put on the page because the public can see that page to explain why we exist. And if this is okay, I will put that there.
If we need to vote, I say let's do it. That's fine.
Anybody opposed to it?
That looks great.
I think that looks great.
Make it easy.
Yeah. In terms
Thanks for that work, Alan.
Am I muted?
Nope, we heard you.
Okay, yeah, I was just going to add, guys, I think that really summarizes very well the short-term need. I think it might be worth a bullet that just says the longer-term goal of the committee is to put in a more permanent dock. Right? And I know that's what we state in our, I don't know, purpose or what have you, but
that is sort of this one here.
Right, that's the last one.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, this one was sort of Lummi Island lacks adequate public access to the docket.
Yeah, I feel like the reasoning was along the lines of why did people think it was important enough to get together?
Right.
And then what do we think we should do about it is more of the goals. But I think
Right.
this is the, you know, the reasoning behind, let's get together a committee and look at this more carefully. And that I think makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Didn't want to did not want to publish that unless people would actually look at it.
Alan, you broke up. I didn't understand what you said.
Who were you talking about?
You, Alan, I couldn't understand what the last thing you said was.
Oh, I just didn't want to publicize that on the page until I was sure that people had read it and thought it was okay or had modifications to it. But like Lane says, it's why we exist, why we came together as a committee.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, we can flesh out a section for the highlighting, you know, specifically the goals.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah.
Okay.
Wonderful. All right, what's next on the agenda?
And it's the part about saying, all right, so if we want to say explicitly that we have basically long-term and interim goals. And I think Alan has. That's also my initial wording I put on the webpage also. Alan, if you want to share that again and go down to that section on the, let me look again and see what it's called. I try to put it in kind of headings so you can tell which kind of group the topics. But
on IFAC, the Rama made a point, and you know, asked a little bit about my how long I've been on island background and that kind of stuff. She made a point that that they're gonna do new members and kind of, you know, look at reinvigorating and changing the, you know, energizing the LIFAC again in the new year. So, and looking for, you know, some new people to appoint and that kind of thing. I think for us, it might be best to wait until, I mean, we want to move things along quickly, but it may be better to not try to do something in this interim place, but see where we are in January with a new board. And that's what I think she was saying. And you know, she was actually, to my little suggestion, she was actually fairly positive. And what she said was, she was kind of basically saying that will be a real problem with, you know, with the county, you know, how they think about, you know, doing this. But she said that she supports entirely keeping it in front of the board, in front of the, you know, Public Works Department. So I think we can work on kind of keeping it open and working it, but I think we're kind of premature to be saying, let's go to the next LIFAC meeting, whenever that is, and saying, making a presentation. I think we should wait until after January when it's a newly reconstituted board.
Okay. Other discussion on that?
On LIFAC, I think we ought to be keeping either just have somebody there for public comment each month to keep up the pressure. And I was kind of thinking that it might be good to maybe see if the folks that had to go over for the surgery would like to make a comment on it. I don't know what, and I don't know. Or I was also thinking that it might be good to just have people who have collect I don't know what, I guess they call it like witnessing or testimonies or something. About like what people have, how people have been affected by the by the ferry outages this summer, besides just for medical. And I don't know, I think that we should be keeping at least, something before them, because I think we have their ear, I think.
I think it's a good idea to, am I audible? I'm not.
Yes.
Okay. I think it's a good idea to collect testimonials about the problem or statements and keep them on file. And not just for this summer. There are probably instances in the past as well. The more of those things that we can have in written documentation, the more we have a case.
Yeah, because I think that it's going to take a lot, like during the LIFAC meeting, the last LIFAC meeting, for those of you who listened to Richie's presentation, he made a comment in there saying, well, it's been like this for 50 years. Did anyone else notice that comment?
Oh,
or
sure.
hear that comment?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Doesn't mean it's right, or that it needs to say that way.
That's right. And so I think that is, and Richie is a Islander, and I think he's a good guy.
Well, he works for the county.
But he's also working for the county right now, and he's got to like, say those kinds of things. But I think we need to keep the issue in front of the county, and they have to know it's more than just me that's being a pain in the butt right now and being vocal. I think that we need to hear other people's stories. Well,
Mary, can you recruit those people?
That's what I was thinking.
Right.
And not necessarily for LIFAC. We need to recruit those documents for the committee itself, our committee, whether they go to LIFAC or not. These are
how we want to
things,
use that in the future, sure.
These are things I think Parks and Recreation would also want to see.
Right. And I think gathering that would be a good step. And so that's about like going to LIFAC. But Chris, I don't know, maybe if you, if you could share your experience with LIFAC, maybe during public comment. I know that's a crappy time for you because it's on Wednesday. So yeah, forget it. I won't ask you
that
to
won't
do
necessarily that won't necessarily stop me, because I did compose a letter, and I think you finally got it. I do want to share it with them, and I will. My perspective is that is another long-term process dealing with the county, no matter what we do, unless we were able to somehow politically force them to act through, and I'm not a political guy. So, I mean, if we got everybody on the island to say, we demand a temporary docking facility at the ferry terminal by next summer, is there any way to enforce that, to make the elected officials do what we want them to? And see, I don't know that.
You go to a meeting and you bring everybody there, and or whatever, to account, however, not go to, because we don't do that now, but you go to the county council and go make a big deal like that. But we barely have enough people on the committee here. So yes, we're not in that.
Yeah, we need to grow our support base.
That's correct. Because I think, and Public Works is still worth pursuing and doing the LIFAC thing, absolutely. But it's only going to get us so far, I mean, if we're only talking to Public Works, I mean, eventually things can happen, but there has to be more going on. I think the public, I still think, regardless of whatever else goes on, that the Parks Department, with whatever other funding Dave was talking about, is really going to be the best potential for us to do something long term, because I don't think we're going to ever overcome the deal with the Public Works about how they want to put in their little emergency thing, and how they want to control it, and how they want to do all that stuff. And there's a lot of inertia there, and they're going to claim safety, they're going to claim all kinds of other stuff. But we should keep doing what we're doing at that end, but go the other way as well. I mean, I think Life Act is a good place to. There's stuff that can be done, and we should do it. But I think we have to keep focused on where we want to go to get it talking here.
If we hold to a true urgent need, the only way to do that is to do it ourselves, from my perspective.
Right.
No, well, that's actually true. If that's what, and then if somebody starts objecting, said, "Well, let's help us build the dock then," or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I will this next Life Act meeting definitely share my 2 cents worth and try to keep that in front of them. I probably will not bring up our workaround and what is planned in my mind, because it's really irrelevant to them, and the less they need to chew on, the better. They've got plenty on their own plate. So,
Mary, can I do think your idea about getting to people that have issues and getting a document is important. If you have contacts or other people have ways to make those contacts, I mean, I'm new, I don't. So, but get that, and I think getting that stuff even in writing and as something in our pocket that we can pull out at the right moment, that's a great resource for us.
Yeah, and what would be the best way to do that? I'm thinking that, maybe putting something on, in the tome from the committee, just saying that, part of our research that we're doing is we would like to find out, like, from, people in our community, how you have been affected by ferry outages. Maybe that would be starting to just.
If we do something like that, but not get into the whole, I want to kind of, I'm just thinking we, not say that we are making a big part of doing the doc or doing the whatever, but actually just gathering information and, that's out there.
Gathering stories.
Right. And not getting it tied in with what do you think about a doc and all this other stuff.
Yeah,
just do that and gather it and document it.
Gathering stories, I think, is what we wanted, like, approach it that way.
Right.
Yeah, you have to be real careful not to go down that rabbit hole, like you said. You want to very carefully word it that you're asking for a very specific thing. People who have had a personal experience with this. And once we craft something like that, short, sweet, and to the point, very understandable, I would say we put it in everything. Put it in the tome, Brown Betty, on Nextdoor, and of course on the community website. Soliciting input. I hate to use these words, but it's almost like lawyers advertising for a class action suit. It's like, have you ever?
Would someone?
I did have a question, because, and I, Tim and I both being very new, all I can say is I understand there will be a public meeting at the end of the month. Is that a, I don't know what that meeting is like. Is that something that someone could just say, hey, we have a committee, and one of the things we're doing is trying to just get a better idea of how people's lives have been impacted. And we'd like to hear your stories.
They have invited us, and Chris has been invited to present at the LICA meeting this Wednesday. And I have too, but I would, Chris, if you want to, just bring that up there, that might be a good a good time.
Yeah, I'm just pulling up the agenda to show you people. Chris is on the agenda, if I remember correctly, specifically for this committee. And Mary, I think you're there specifically for talking about the cooperative effort, the Heritage Trust thing, how
right
the website that it's doing. Yeah, it's reports, public doc committee, Chris Immer / Mary Ross. And then that's under reports, Meals on Wheels, phone book. Then under new business, website used by island organizations, Heritage Trust. That's you also.
yeah.
Great. Sounds like we got a plan there then. We'll make it happen on that end. So number 3, update from Alan on mechanical engineer.
Didn't get anywhere.
Okay.
It's been a wild and woolly week. I'm just
Let's not waste time. We're just going to move on then. We'll have to wait on that. And so that brings us to number 4. I have 2 phone calls in as of now to 2 different companies. The one that said call back on Friday, his message machine on both his cell phone and on his business phone are full and they're not receiving messages. And he does not answer text messages. So it sounds like he's busy working. I found another company today that I do have a meeting set up for on the 30th. And 9 a.m. on the 30th is what the web page came back as, and it's on my Google Calendar. And I'll keep you informed of that if it changes. And I got a feeling it probably will, because it's kind of like a form letter deal on their website. So we'll see where that gets us. But at least I, got that sent out. So I couldn't arrange anything quicker because, well, the one guy, Greg, would not answer his phone, and I couldn't leave a message. So I did email him on his webpage as well. So we'll see if we get a response, and I'll be bugging him this week.
Is that the guy you mentioned last time?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, too bad. Okay. Yeah.
So I wanted to give an update on that, but as soon as I hear something, I will send out an email to you guys instantly. Now on to the ReefNet boats.
Chris?
Mary, go ahead.
Okay, so that will be at 9 a.m. at the public beach.
Yeah.
The by the stairs by the beach store.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That will be...
If I get up that early, okay, sure.
Well, again, that's subject to change because I just filled in, their web thing, and he could be calling back saying, "I'm not coming over that early."
Well,
good.
Well, there's a ferry. We didn't know that. Oh, what? Well, that's a whole different thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anytime after 10, please.
Well, I want to bring up now the ReefNet boat. Can you let me share too?
Yeah, you can share.
Share screen. Hey, where'd it go?
Those photos are also up on the web page as well.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. By the way, I went over and took a look at them.
Oh, very nice. I want you to know this took me hours to figure out how to do just this. Hours of my life. I hate computers. Anyways, give you a general idea. So everybody sees it's about 38 feet long as it sits right now. As you can see, it's in pretty bad disrepair, but the hull itself is in good shape. The idea would be these black lines at the stern of the boat here.
Yeah.
Those are basically just 2 24-foot pieces of 12-inch channel aluminum, and they would just be hinged at this point on the boat, and then it would be hinged at the top, and it would simply just deploy out like that. There would be structure on the top to provide the strength that we would need. On the outer one, the inner one we would leave without a permanent rail on it so that it could actually fold down onto the boat, is my vision. I tried to figure out a way to make it, do all that on here, but I gave up. So
let me real quick, because I'm glad you kind of did that little drawing. There's and Sandra, we both kind of looked at that, and what her comment was that just initially looking at it, and something we have to kind of figure out, is that it's pretty high freeboard. So if when you go alongside, you're going to have to, people are going to be crawling, you know, depending on what boat gets alongside to drop people off, you know, there's going to be a ways to get up and get over into the, you know, boat. So that's just something that was a comment that,
Look right here, Tim.
What's that?
Look right here.
Oh yeah, no, I'm right. Well, okay, yeah. You'd have to cut it down.
No sideboard on port.
Yeah, okay. If that's what you're thinking, you'd actually have to cut it down some to make it work. So I got it.
Exactly.
So the other thing, just looking at your drawing, to make this mechanical, you're going to have some sort of a line and tackle or winch or something to move this up and down. You're going to also just mechanically, you're going to need some kind of like an A-frame across the boat with lines going to it. So,
yeah.
You know,
that's that little window up here, hydraulic or hand winch. There's a couple different ways we could do it.
Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about? Because I think we'll have to have a little, it can't be on the deck. You're going to have a little A-frame so your line can go up and over to make that, you know, kind of work so you can pull it back up.
Potentially. If it's hydraulic, we wouldn't need that.
I don't, okay. If you say so, then if you're going to do hydraulic on the back of the boat and make that work, that's going to be a little bit, that's going to need some real engineering.
Yeah,
I can tell you.
It's no problem. That the part, like I say, this is the part that's easy for me. I like building stuff. That part's easy. None of that's hard. It just costs money is all it is. You know, show me the money, it'll get built.
Yeah, right.
But obviously it's, you know, in rough condition. The top deck needs to be reglassed all the way from the stern to the bow and made one level. Right now there's a couple of levels. It jumps up right here about 1.5 feet. It doesn't necessarily need to be all one level, but definitely on the port side, the opposite side of what we're looking at, the sideboard needs to be cut down so it is a flat surface, and then the stern as well. And I have that picture.
That's a fiberglass boat, Chris?
Yeah, these are fiberglass hulls.
Oh, okay.
And so this view shows you what it would look like. I mean, obviously not to scale, but the idea being 4 foot wide ID inside dimension so that it meets ADA standards.
Your image did not change.
Well, on my screen it did.
Yeah. You have to stop share and then reselect.
Share screen. Where'd it go?
I can do it for you.
I lost it.
I have it. Hold on.
All right.
I'll do it for you.
I was doing so good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's easy to get lost in this stuff. Okay, so what you want is the stern view?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I have to load it back up. I closed that page. There you go.
Hey, it looks just like that. So as you can see, the black lines are just a basic outline of, you know, a 4 foot wide ramp, not to scale, obviously, but just give you an idea of what it looks like from the stern. And you can see that below that hole in the stern is about 8 inches down to the deck itself. And so this isn't exact where it would be or anything like that. It just gives you the general idea. But it's a pretty good size beam on these. They're pretty wide. So they're just under 10 feet wide. And they are very stable. We are using one of these right now over at Barnes Island as a dock that we use, that I deploy in early June. And I just pulled it in last week. So it stays out there all summer. So very good and stable for the project. This isn't our only option, though. Brian Parberry at Scrap It has multiple old barges that were owned by the county and various other organizations, some in better repair than others. That's a possibility. We don't have to use an old reef net boat. It's just what I have readily available, and the price is right in that sense. And there's less maintenance long-term with fiberglass than there is steel, because steel, you got to keep up.
If you do steel, you got to figure out, you're gonna have to get that someplace and haul it out and do whatever, because it'll rust right through. So
oh yeah, I forgot I got the interior view. So you can see this is the yeah, all that could be glassed in, re-glassed in real easy. I've done it before, so I already know what's involved in it. It's just, thousands of dollars worth of materials is what it comes down to. Then again, my labor is not going to cost anything. And I've got other people that are willing to volunteer their time as well doing the work. So it would be just a cost in my mind of materials, but not cheap by any means.
No, especially these days. This is where your step down is, right here.
Yeah, that's the fish hold right in there towards the stern of the boat. And we would just close that in or just put a grate over it. I mean, there's no reason to get rid of it. It's just a hole, that they put the live fish in, but we definitely want to re-glass everything, because you can see that deck is not sealed at all. And we want it.
I think it's more than re-glassing, because I think basically you're talking about putting a whole new deck in there. So
yeah.
This has got a lot of washboarding in it. Right here.
Yeah. The wood's the cheap part.
Looks like there's room for It's like there's room for a couple of deck chairs and a barbecue, though, too, Chris.
Oh yeah, I mean, it'd be a cool deal, and it would keep the character of the island.
I'm good.
Sell tickets to clam bakes, I think.
Yeah.
I did have a question, because I was down at the ferry terminal the other day when there's a very high tide, and I realized that it was within feet of the stairs down from the public beach. But I don't know about Granger. What is its highest high tide?
Well, at a high tide, it won't be any problem getting the boat up on Granger's Beach. Did I tell you I talked with John?
No, I was going to ask about that.
I did talk with him this week before the meeting, and he's in agreement that he would be happy to let us use his beach for storage of it. He has to work out the details with some of the other owners in the area, but he's convinced that it won't be a problem at all. And if we make a proper beach cart, we'll be able to roll it even at a minus tide with a land-based winch all the way up onto the road, across the road, if we wanted to even. So he's in agreement that he'd be happy to host it.
Okay. And I had another question, because I was standing there staring at the mooring balls. How do you find out who owns mooring balls? Like they're ones
all legal. You can't find out.
You go and tie up to it, and I guarantee you somebody will let you know if they think it's theirs.
Right.
No, well, I just wondered if
I tell you, I have the only legal mooring on around the island. I can almost guarantee that, because I had to do research to find out what other things are licensed. There's nothing licensed. So.
Well, there are multiple screw-in anchors that are licensed on the island, but they are few and far between because of the cost, for sure. Most of them are cement anchors.
So, because I was curious as to if, because I see people anchored out there on a fairly regular basis, and I wasn't sure if you needed to use that space, or, what would there be a conflict, is what I was curious about.
Yeah, there won't be any conflict with a boat that is licensed as a vessel, standalone, and we just use deployable standard boat anchors. They can't do anything and won't do anything. They don't care.
Okay.
And DNR, they're happy to let you, do it that way. They just don't want you to put down a cement anchor or a screw in without getting money from you first.
Right.
Question, Chris, the area that you're talking about, are you talking about the beach that's across from the Yellow House?
Yes.
The Ranger
Yes.
Family Holdings.
Yeah.
The trust. Okay. Okay. Let me bring up something. It's on the webpage. So you're talking for beach landing. You're talking about in here, or on his on this little triangle that he has.
There's potential for both. So ideally would be right here where there's an existing winch on the beach, which is right here. This area here is owned by the Water Association.
Your cursor doesn't work.
Oh, yeah.
So you're talking about right in here.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. So, and John is in communication with all the other owners involved in that small piece that you're on there. Yeah. And then with the Water Association directly across from where you're just where that little shed is.
Yep.
If we needed to bring it across the road, it's potential we could, but I'm thinking we could probably just bring it up to those bushes and into the bushes up close to the road, and it's going to be fine.
Mm. Yeah. And this is fair. This is a fairly when it's a low tide, this is a flat.
Oh yeah, you can see the line
right here
in that picture, right by the A and Earl.
Yep.
That is very shallow all the way out to there.
Mm-hmm.
But again, with the right type of cart, it's irrelevant. We just roll it up and down the beach, super easy, and no problem.
So now I have to play devil's advocate here.
Okay.
How is the boat insured?
How is it what?
Insured.
That's a good question.
You won't be able to be insured. I can guarantee you nobody's going to. I have an old boat. You know, it took me a long time to find somebody to insure the thing. So the insurance and then the ramp, you know, kind of stuff. It's going to be looked at by anybody. It's not insurable.
So if it's not insurable, I would just recommend that down the line a little bit, we start thinking about a waiver of liability for anybody that does use that boat in the way.
Good point.
Enter this dock at your own risk.
Well, it's not a dock per se, but that reef boat and the ramp, I would say if in case of an urgent need, I would recommend that we get one of the many island lawyers.
Yeah, I gotta say, you want a lawyer to actually write something like that because, actually, that knows what they're doing.
Yeah, a release of liability because we don't need anyone sued.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and whoever, you know, we have to register the boat just to keep it straight too. And whoever's the registered person, you know, or entity is going to end up being liable for anything, you know.
So just got to find the person with the least to lose. Can't get blood out of a turnip, right?
You can still make their life miserable.
Oh yeah, no, that's no doubt, and I know that's a pastime out here on Lummi Island, suing one another. So,
really,
definitely a potential.
Oh yeah.
God. Anyway, I should have known.
Anyways, let's move on. So,
all right,
that's my update on that. I mean, if there's more discussion about it, how we want to pursue it, that's kind of the next point is who's doing what do we want to do? How do we want to do it from here?
Chris, I have a couple questions. Like on the boat, it would just be a single hull, right?
Correct.
Okay. And it's pretty much a flat bottom. It's
correct.
That's its design. So it's just going to be flat bottom. Okay. Okay. Man, how heavy? It looks like it's just really going to be a heavy booger.
They're not light, but I'm using a mid-sized John Deere tractor over on Barnes Island to both put it in the water and to pull it out of the water. When I pull it out, I roll it on logs, and I actually do have to use a block or 2 blocks to get the leverage I need because the tractor is not heavy enough. It would pull it if the tires wouldn't spin. But as soon as I put 2 blocks in, it pulls up super easy. So very easily deployable with a full-size 1-ton truck, or I'm thinking, again, we use a manual winch, hand-operated at the beach. And
if you really want to get, and it's about money, but there's actually some, because I was looking at them for another purpose, but they actually have these inflatable rollers that actually work pretty well too. So, and would protect the bottom of the boat. So there's ways to look at that, in the bottom, but that's all, by the way, where you're talking about, it's all pretty much all sand or rock.
It's all mud.
That's that's what my concern about the whole, looking around the ferry terminal, directly. So
actually next to the ferry terminal is mostly sand. It's the center area between where the park is and the dock. That's where you get some rock outcroppings.
But there's a lot of rocks in there. I've seen that when the tide goes out. There's still a lot of rocks floating around. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So
Chris, you can.
I've never hit a rock with my landing craft when I've come in there, just because I know the area. So the only rocks that I'm going to hit is right up at the shore. Other than that, it's deep enough right by the wing walls there that it's not an issue, even at a minus tide. That's why the area is so ideal. It's already dredged out for us. Hey, there's a Christine.
So Chris, I see how you drag it in with the winch or tractor, what have you. How do you push it out?
That's my next question.
Yeah.
Boat in the water, tie a line to it and pull. You got gravity on your side.
Oh, from a boat. You'll drag it out with a boat.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Makes sense.
We're going to have a boat out there anyways to move it. So it's only logical to pull it down.
Yep. Gotcha.
Yeah. It's basically a boat-shaped barge.
Right. Yeah.
Consistent with our heritage around here.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody be like, hey, that's a reading that boat. Sure is.
Maybe we get some funding from a historical society somewhere.
Well, that's part of the discussion we need to have. Dave, sounds like you found some stuff. This would be, from my perspective, a fully funded island endeavor. And those on island that would want it would have to be the ones to financially keep it going, however that looks. I mean, it would be our responsibility by far. And I've talked to others on island who already said, yeah, they would be interested in, participating in it other than just us in this group. So
how much will the boat actually cost? Do you actually have contact with the owners of the boat, or how much would given we have to do a lot of work to it, what's the boat cost?
Well, there is no such thing as a free boat, but it is free to this committee and to our use. It's already done deal. It's already owned. It's already owned by us. So it's a great deal.
Well, hey, I'm happy to sling fiberglass, Chris. If you want to teach, I'll join in the party.
Oh, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Kind of stinky, but it's fun.
Yeah.
Fiberglass is not fun. You guys are crazy. Anyway.
So, the funding question is an interesting one, and I can't wait to review the information I found. That would be more appropriate for the dock.
The public dock, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't read all of that material, but well, it's very interesting. Since 1964, a taxpayer voted initiative uses tax dollars from fuel taxes to support. There's a number of names for the various grants. One of them was the boat infrastructure grant. And there's like $14 million in that fund. And I believe, you apply, and you have to apply through an agency. So the Parks Department, Whatcom County Parks, would be ideal to team with on this. And so that's what we're looking at here. So the one was if you scroll down a little bit, This was the infrastructure grant. This is a state funded grant, and you can get up to $1 million. There are some matching requirements, but I think that might come from the county, maybe from the Parks Department. And then if you follow these links that I put in this document, there are other grants, some of them federal, like this one here. And I think that one had a fund of about 2 million. And I did read enough to see that one of these grants is for boats, powered boats, not kayaks or human powered, but powered boats up to 26 feet. And then I think it was the federal grant that is for boats larger than that. So we have a little bit of homework to do here, but when I came across this stuff, that tells me there's money out there. There's money out there for exactly what we're trying to do here. And I think I put an example in here of Bellevue, Maidenbower Bay Park. Ironically, I used to take my daughter there when she was tiny, and it was just this tiny little park, had a little dock. If you follow that link, you won't believe the pictures in there now. I mean, they spent $1 million on this park. And there's a big boat dock. It's for kayaks and things, not power boats. But and so they got a $500,000 grant. The city kicked in $500,000 and made it happen. So I was super encouraged by this. The one question I was going to put to this committee is, obviously, we're going to need to put together a proposal, a grant application. I don't know, Chris, if Terry does part of that. My thought was once you meet with this engineering firm and we have a little bit more information about what we want to do, and maybe even have a ballpark, what kind of it's going to cost, we could then meet with Terry and talk about this process, because they must be familiar with it, right? And
she is very familiar with it, for sure.
Yeah. And then we need to put together a winning application, and I think we can do that. We have tons of good information. And here was my question for the committee here, because I know there's a lot of people with varied backgrounds. Does anybody have experience applying, writing these grants? I've done scientific, or scientific instruments.
I'm not quite yet volunteering, but I both have written and had to evaluate them at the federal level. So
excellent. Yeah.
Right. Anyway, but I kind of, I retired. I don't do that anymore.
I know.
Anyway, but
I funded my program under grants that I can't write.
We will find what we're going to end up finding out, that the county is going to have good people that can work with us on doing that. Once we get them to buy in and let them get, rolling, and we, provide a supporting role. And, actually I'd be happy. That'd be kind of, in its own strange way, that would be fun to kind of get, once we got them going, is to work with them, putting that package together and sorting stuff out. That's, I could certainly help with that.
Okay. Yeah, great.
So,
Chris, were you going to say?
If I understand correctly, it sounds like that's a step that's coming. We're not there yet. We've got to meet with guys, get a game plan together, exactly what we want, then go to the Parks Department, get our proposal to them, and then they take over on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think what you want to do is find, once we have kind of an idea of the dock and some kind of idea of some sort of money, and it may not even be, in my view, it's not whatever we even start to come up with is not where this is going to end up, because we want them to buy into it and do whatever they want to do to make it happen. But once you get that and you get them to the idea, like there is funding, that we know about, and so we're conversant in that, and we have an idea, and we know we can put in a dock, and that's the other thing. So it's kind of like, I think the other part, once we get an idea of what the dock can be or where exactly we think it could be, is, and I can do some of this too, because I've already worked with a little bit with DNR, just at least see what are we going to need to go through to get DNR to buy in this without making it way more complicated. County again is going to know more, but there's no reason we can't do start talking with them as well, just to find out. So,
Christine, Christine, you were saying you have experience writing grants also.
Well, you didn't catch the second part of the sentences. After 25 years of doing that or more, I'm washed out when it comes to grant writing.
Come on, Chris, there's a million.
That's how I used to fund a lot of my work.
Okay. Well,
but it was all in a completely different subject area. I'm really in over my head in this committee. I'm not even sure I'm qualified to talk to you guys.
Well, yeah, but the point is you still have got people who can edit, who can read through, who can say, yes, this is a logically put together sentence.
I can edit. I used to edit a journal, but again, that was
editing is a good thing.
But I think I'm there for whatever you need, except for writing the grant. I'm not a good writer.
I haven't gotten the engineer bit yet. I'm trying to remember who I heard said, that kind of thing. But I have a person that lives very close to me who's has assisted in creating several types of local improvement districts, is familiar with the issues confronting such districts. Familiar with all local zoning and other regulations relating to subdivisions, shoreline management, and pollution control. If I might just trot over and have a little conversation.
Perfect.
Yeah. See if they might be interested in this as well, in helping the committee.
Yeah, based on some of the links, and again, I haven't thoroughly gone through all of that material, but I'm sure you guys have glanced through some of it as well. We have ton of supporting information to put into this, I think, right? And we're gathering more, just as we talked about earlier in this meeting. There's lots of examples from some of the other projects that were done around the county and the other counties. I mean, I'm happy to help write this thing. I think we can do this. That was.
Well, I actually think I think what we're going to need to do is we're going to have to get somebody kind of burning with enthusiasm at the on the staff level at Parks to kind of get going with that. Right. You get somebody that really kind of buys into this and gets going on the staff. If we get that far, and then they're working with us. That's that. But and the more we kind of have conceptualized the resources and this stuff, and that's really where we need to just have conversation and talk and conversation and get them to buy into this, because that's where this is going to go if it's going to go.
Yeah, I agree, and they ideally have experience pushing these grants through, right? They know how to win them.
We're not going to write much. It's going to be, finding the right, people and, and let them kind of sort this stuff out and work it, because guess what? It's not going to be our grant. It's going to be the county's grant.
Right. So, yeah. And we just feed them whatever information they need, right? Yeah.
Wonderful. Great information.
Yeah, so, I think it becomes like a thing of like coming up with the idea, selling it to the Park and Rec Commission, and then once the commission would go for it, then they'll tell their people that work in the Parks Department, okay, this is what we recommend, this is what,
It might be good doing it a little bit the other way, is finding the right people in Parks to kind of buy into that, to take it to so they own it. But we'll see. That stuff can all be worked out.
Yeah, and the other thing that I don't know, like what everybody's history on the island here is, but like LIDs, local improvement districts, have not gone over well on Lummi Island in the past. It's been, there was an attempt to form like a park district to fund a meeting place that I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fart. My next door neighbor, Dave, help me. My next door neighbor. Bob Auld.
Bob.
Yeah, he was involved intimately in that. And if you remember at one of our first meetings, he said that he made the statement that it is really, people on the island are not willing to pay more anything in taxes or anything to support something like a park and rec district. So selling it on the island will be a difficult thing. So, and that's
the beauty of this, Mary. This money is there. It's not.
I know it. That's what I think is good.
Yeah. It's going to be a county effort. I mean, that's a great thing. I think we just have to focus on that's where we're going to go with this. Yeah. That is different, however, if we twist this back around, we still have, how do we do the interim thing with the
yeah.
That's the whole different deal.
Well, so let's move forward then on the next steps. I know it needs to be put in the notes that I'm going to be working on coordinating, getting folks out here to help us evaluate the public dock end of it. I suspect, since I'm the one who brought up the reef net stuff, I've got to come up with an amount of money that's going to be needed to actually do the job, and then proceed from there on how we want to deal with that. So I will have that by next meeting, and hopefully I'll have contact with these dock people and be able to get that out before the next meeting as well.
I'm kind of hoping that we can figure out, it might be an interesting involvement thing to get people from the island to help do the work on I think the work on the actual reef note. I mean, fiberglass is easy to cut. We all know that. Well, I know, Chris, you know that. But and I think the physical work of laying down new plywood and deck beams or whatever we need to do, it's going to have to be significant. But it can be done. The ramp thing I don't know about yet, but I trust you. So, I mean, it's very doable. It's just, but it's having some numbers, and then it's just how we're going to get enough money just to get enough of the stuff, to start it, so. Yeah.
And I think that it's also, I think having some numbers will be helpful because, that at least we could figure out maybe going to LICA for, some money for grant money for on island source, for maybe buying some materials, and could maybe do an auction or something. We could come up with some fundraising kind of ideas.
Bake sales work. Bake sales, it'll just do bake sales around the island, right? Get a few.
Well, also just ask for donations flat out first.
No, once we have something and conceptual stuff, and we have some numbers, then we can start chewing on it, and it may be small amounts to start with just to get something going.
There's one thing. I don't mean to interrupt, but there's one thing where I've been extremely successful, and that is I've usually gotten money by doing person-to-person talking first. And I haven't done it in a long time, but I managed to walk into, what's his name, Herzog and National Geographic, and came out of the office with a choice between $5,000 right away or the board of directors for more. And that was from a conversation. So I think I'm pretty good at it. The only problem is I really don't know anything. I mean, anything about the topic. I've joined the group mostly because I'm a recent widow, and I can relate to what Mary's gone through. It's miserable because I've also helped somebody else here race across on the ferry to get her to an ambulance that she initially said she didn't want. What people have to go through for me is very emotional, and I don't think of it yet. It's not that I'm not interested in it the way it is, or I don't like what you're coming up with. It's more that my emotions are involved. And so my mind is not absorbing the information. So I would be very happy to go meet people in town at the state a county, local, or federal level. I don't have a problem with that. But what I would need is to be totally tutored and immersed in it until I felt confident with the subject. And then I would try very hard to work an appointment with somebody. I'm sure we can have people suggested to us. And I do agree that sometimes it's worth hitting the top person who can make the decisions. It depends a lot on knowing the institution. But most important part about it is being able to answer questions. And I don't feel confident whatsoever on the topic, God forbid, on boats. Just gave ours away, which I never once got to ride. And then I don't know anything about docks.
Well,
so much for the speech. All I can say is that I'm not intimidated.
Yeah, there is one approach in that you do it as a team. You have one person who is really good with the conversation side of it, and you have a person next to you that can deal with
loses
the
a little bit the first time around, because that becomes a serious committee meeting if you have three people. When you come in as a single individual, you can switch gears pretty easily and make it personal or make it professional without, you're not doing anything bad. It's just that you can sense where the person is and take the conversation that route. If there are three people, it's like having an agenda.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
But you can also basically say that, okay, I don't know the answers to these questions. Can I come back? I have someone here who can answer all the technical issues, technical subjects and questions. That works really well. But the other thing that works quite well is to get verbal interest built up by people who don't count much politically, but who can sign on or work on behalf of their sub-organization or nonprofit, whatever it happens to be, like the people who are in charge of the various committees and groups on the island, as well as people who have similar interests over at Gooseberry or even in Bellingham, but get just a general number of recognized titles of committees and organizations saying they support it. And if they want, they can give $1. But if you list that support up front, then you have something that opens the door to a person who feels like they're wanted and needed. And that's what worked for us on one of our big projects that still is holding in there 30 years later. So I think it's doable, and I'd be happy to do it, but I wouldn't do it. And you're talking to somebody who's, like I said, I'm emotional right now. So my absorption of information my filter is pretty weak. So I really have to work to know what I'm talking about. And if I don't know it, then I can't sell it.
If you stay on the committee and stay with us, you're going to learn a lot, I think, about all this stuff as we go along.
Yeah, but you guys I'm learning already, but it's easier for me to understand something abstract than the practicality of what a dock and a boat are. I mean, I know our committee's had some sort of principle in there, but I'm not, like I say, I'm a bit embarrassed to say it, but I really lack knowledge. That's
so Chris,
I could use help.
My perspective on that is it is our job we're still in the formative stages here, but if we're going to write a winning grant, we have to very clearly and specifically describe and state exactly what we plan to do, what we plan to build, have all the proper engineering analysis behind it. And also that will come. And I think, when we get to the point where you say, all right, I get it, you know, and I can defend this, then we've done a good job, right?
That's exactly right.
Well, yeah, and one of the things too, I think really helps in these is to go to the people with the proposal, maybe finished, but basically ask if they have something that they would like to add that would improve it. And basically try to turn to them a bit as a teacher. This is not what I'm doing with you guys, but it's the, again, it's to draw the person in on another level than just reading paper. You can get a lot more by not depending on the paper.
Yeah, Chris, I've always, on all the committees that I've always been on, I've always tried to have somebody that has zero to layman type background on the topic, just for using them as a sounding board. Because like Dave said, if we get to the point where you understand it and it's crystal clear to you, we've won.
Is there any way that this can be done other than on Zoom?
Oh, yeah.
Because again, I don't know if it's because of my brain parts having been taken out or whether it's the screen, but this is a lot like reading a book to me. And so if I had personal contact without, it could be from a distance with masks and all that, but if I could have a, you know, a non-timed conversation with you on the subjects that are outlined as being important to the project, I'll study. I'll do my homework.
I am on the FOIL board, and the library, the Hanson meeting room, is available for very small groups like board meetings and committee meetings, as long as there is a FOIL board member present. So we have the ability right now, as long as it's not a huge group, you can't use the main library section, but the Hanson room is available. So if you wanted to have a physical in-person meeting, which is generally easier on all fronts, that is possible.
Well, I'd be ready to start with that. Give me, if it's not bad, give me another 10 days. I've had my daughter and 2 grandchildren who came over from Baltimore, and they've been with me for 2 weeks. And I know that there's no infection because I'd be sick by now, but this way we give it a little bit of time since I've had exposure. But if we could wait that long, 7 to 10 days, I'm ready to go, and I could look at the reading material in between.
Yeah, the information on Google is starting to really expand, the Google Doc. You should have an invite to that. I don't know if you've accepted it. Everybody's been contributing to that. There's a lot of really great information in there that we were talking about before you signed into the Zoom account. So I would suggest that we have maybe one more Zoom meeting and then see if everybody is of interest in 2 weeks to meet at the Hanson room. If you want, I can work either way, but we do have an advantage because I'm on 2 boards.
I'm happy to meet in person. I would still like to have it on Zoom available so that we can record it, because that sure is handy to have it to refer back to, but I'm open to it. So whatever you guys want, I'm good.
Yeah, Christine, for me, and I have to say, I'm not, I didn't come to this party with any particular skill level, or it was just an interest. But I do find when I went on to some of the sites that have similar projects like Sinclair Island, and we looked at Point Roberts is actually a good example also. For me, because they wrote those descriptions for regular people, not assuming this incredible marine background, I think those are great places to start with a sense of how people put it into context some of the drawings just, I don't know, my brain stopped working. And I said, well, I guess that's meaningful to someone, but it was more some basic pictures, frankly. Picture of a doc, because I did not. I was writing down what people were saying, but that did not mean I understood what people were saying. I mean,
well, that makes all the difference. I mean, if you understand the gist of it, how much you know is far less important, because then you can use your intuition.
Yeah.
And you can guess. The other way I don't think the other way works effectively. You can read all you want, like you said, but it's quite different from that perspective. Anyway, if one or two people are willing to have a couple of meetings with me, I'll take the reading and the reading assignments, and then just to become fluid, I would need that before I go try to sell something.
All right, we'll work towards that point of getting you involved in that, and we'll press on from there. Who else is doing what that needs to get documented? Alan, we know you're still working on engineering stuff, so
yeah,
that should be who's doing what. Mary, you're working on gathering stories.
Yeah, I'll work on gathering stories and trying to get that going. Anyone like to work on that with me? Nope. Okay.
Well, yeah, you know I'll assist you with the advertising side of it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'll work on putting an article together, and we'll talk about that at the LICA meeting. We can introduce that, Chris, during. I'll try to get something written up that before the LICA meeting, and you and I can look at it and see if we want to. And Alan, maybe the three of us can do it real quick. Look it over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Mary and I have quite often worked on documents for publication through Google Docs, and it works really well for us.
So Chris, just kind of moving on to maybe initial, we're talking a lot about our island and the dock and the temporary dock and the bigger dock and all that. What are we doing over at Gooseberry? How are we going to make that work?
From my perspective, in talking with the gentlemen that run the dock facility over there, if we give them their $5, they're happy. The only time that they're concerned about us inundating them is when they have an opening and all of their fishermen are trying to use the dock. That's the only time that they would prefer us not to be there. Other than that,
it happened one of the last time the ferry was out, that there was an issue with the, but that was the timing issue, we think, right? So.
Yeah. But even then, I may do by just going to the beach, not even using their dock at all. And they were happy.
Beach, it's a great beach there. It really is.
Yeah. So I don't see that as an issue even. It's already taken care of itself. So.
Yeah, I think we have less issues on that side of the trip than on the islands.
I actually think that Public Works, if we get a reef net boat out there, or where they see us, I think that's when stuff is going to be real interesting. So because I can imagine them calling the Coast Guard. I really can at some point. So
it can also be very embarrassing to them that we're having to do this.
Good point.
And that has political leverage.
That's a name for a boat in lieu of Public Works. Anyway,
the captains that I've spoke with, I love it. The captains I've spoke with would all be in support of what we're doing. They want us to take care of our islanders, and they will enable us to do that as much as they're allowed to do it. For example, the last outage when I was running my boat back and forth, they, were assisting people down the rocks. They were bringing life jackets. They were doing everything they could to be helpful. We even toyed with the idea of pulling up to the ferry and loading passengers from there. It was just too big of a step, though, from the ferry deck down to my boat. But the captain that was serving at the time was like, "Oh yeah, we'll do it if it works." So, we've got support from the ferry captains for the most part. I don't know any that would be objectionable to it.
Yeah, good.
All right.
All right. I think we've got a game plan together, and I will contact you as soon as I got information, and same time, same bat channel next week. Yes.
Yeah. That the original thing that did we, I think Lane had a really good suggestion at the very beginning of the meeting, and she put in the Google Doc a dual purpose statement that we never really voted upon that. And
I thought it passed by acclamation.
What?
I thought it passed by acclamation, but if we did vote.
Well, no, I don't mean by vote, but I don't think we actually looked at Lane's wording that she had put out. I think she had put something in the Google Doc towards the end that.
Alan, can you bring that up?
Well, Lane, do you want to just bring it up so you can drive?
I can do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was really good what she had put, and I think that it would be good for us to look at that.
Yeah, what we might, I don't know if people want just some more time to think about it, have between now and next week, but hopefully people realize when you get into this document, just in case this does not show up automatically, can everyone see that on the left-hand side, the kind of the table of contents, the document structure shows.
Mm-hmm.
But if you close it by mistake, if you click this arrow, you close it by mistake, and it's
You don't see it.
same document as if it's just in Word. So I have, at least in my version, I'm in Safari. I have a show document outlet that will.
Everybody would have that.
So you should be able, if it goes away and suddenly you're like, wait a minute, where was that thing I was looking for? This is kind of like a table of contents, which I think is helpful. So if you go down to, it's organizing the project, where yes, I just said, I think if we were to, this is kind of the why would we look at it this way? And then originally we had the what is proposed statement. And so this would be a what is proposed, one statement for long-term public doc, and then a what is proposed for interim solutions. And right now, this is also sort of a big chunk of placeholders. In parts, we didn't lose any ideas. But also, I think that one reason we want to keep, and it's nice having the historical record, is we want to keep the things I think that we did talk about, even if they did not come to being one of the solutions we recommend or went forward with. I think that you don't want to return this. Every year, people suddenly say, oh, but you know, it would work great if we just built these stairs, yada, yada. And you're like, well, we did look at that. So maybe between now and next week, people can look through this and we'll come back next week, because all of this right now, this is all behind the scenes. No one but the committee members see this.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the question is, you know, when do we make, we talked about a sort of draft proposal. I don't know when we want to think about making more of this public reasoning, right?
Yeah, I just think that this was excellent work, and I want to be sure that everyone is familiar with it.
Okay.
And
There's a lot of good comments in here from a lot of people.
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
And we sort of have to just sort of try to absorb it all so we have a good idea of where everybody's thinking. And then we can build it into something that becomes a document.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I do like the idea of, because even in 3 months, I'll be the person who suddenly says, oh, did we ever talk about putting stairs down? I'll be like, yeah, I think you wrote that up, Lane. Oh, yeah, did I? So, yeah, so maybe between now and next week, people come through, think about if there's another way to represent our kind of the process of the committee, help us to stay kind of organized and on task.
And,
Okay.
and if you didn't find the email, the invitation that connects you to this, and you need that invitation again, either Lane or I, or actually any of us, can send that invitation out again. So just let us know and we can relink it.
And I hope it's okay with everybody. Alan, probably the same. Will come. Whatever you put in, if it looks a little different next time you're there, it's because probably we've been organizing it to make sure it shows up in the table of contents.
Yeah, I played today with the indenting, so the contents read better.
Yeah, it's really becoming a great document though. So thank you for all of the work on that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all.
Thank
okay.
you, everybody.
Thanks,
I'm
Chris.
sure enjoying spending time with you guys, and you guys are all so talented and just amazing to watch in action. And appreciate all your time that you're putting into it, and we'll just keep pressing forward, huh?
Yeah.
Sound good?
Yeah. And
all right,
Christine, if you want to catch up with the front end of the meeting, the video will be linked on the page.
Oh, good. I appreciate that because
they all of them are.
Yeah, I was just opening. This is my first use of my new computer, and this one actually can produce sound. My other one had been damaged. They couldn't replace the sound circuitry, so I got fed up. Anyway, so you caught me as I finally got it signed in, working, and I went to Zoom. That was my first action.
Yay.
But
I should have started earlier, but
anyway, on the community,
I will look at the video.
Yeah, on the community website. Do you know where the page is?
Okay. Well, so is this the end, Chris?
Yep, I think that's it.